Hey again. All right, so this time we're going to look at finding our breath in a different way, right? So breath has to do with lungs and large intestine. That's air element, that's the metal. So what is our connection between the two? All the organs want to be able to flow with them, but if those two aren't flowing together, it's going to be a little bit hard to breathe. So we're going to really focus on breath today. So again, find yourself in a comfortable position. And we're actually going to go to the large intestine. And again, we're bringing our consciousness down as much as we can. We're not looking at the large intestine. We are dropping our consciousness down to the large intestine. Letting go, the final processing, right? And we're sitting as deeply as we can in our body there and just noticing how it feels. How does our large intestine feel? What is its pattern, right? What do you notice in your body whenever your energy is invited to go there? For me, my throat gets tight, and it can be different every time. It's just a noticing, right? There's a story there, of course, on some level. So we're just breathing with it. There, good. And then feeling the connection between the large intestine and how does it relate to the lungs? Does it feel open? Does it feel tight? Do you get panicky? Do you get lost? Just notice. The more you can trust what's happening and what our body is doing and trying to tell us, the more easily energy moves. Because it doesn't have to move. Because there's not a story in the background that something's wrong that needs to be fixed. Nobody likes to hear that. And if you do, and I mean, I understand if you do, because then that can be exciting, but not in a way that there's control that needs to happen. Good. So there's quite a long distance between the large intestine and the lungs in many ways. So just notice if there's anywhere where it gets caught up in between the two. And notice if a lot of us can be in the front of our body with the large intestine versus in the body and really rooted. Like, can you go to the rectum, right? And sit there with your consciousness. Can you feel the flow down your legs while you are in your large intestine? Good. And as I'm even inviting that flow down my legs and feeling the heart of Mother Earth, right? The connection, the magnetic energy through the feet, up through the legs, into the large intestine, my hip wants to pop, right? There's flow there, letting go that wasn't being accessed before my consciousness was invited down there. Good. And again, just like with any connection, you might notice stories, thoughts, different feelings happening in the body. Just stay in the one breath with that. Good. Nice, good. You might notice an unraveling happening. A lot of times there's a spiral that starts to happen, or like it might not be a full spiral. And a lot of times that has to do with, to me, it's like the story of the wind getting lost. Like it's unraveling. And it'll take me more and more deeply into my central channel, into my core, into the cranial sacral fluid in the spine. There, yeah, good. Just playing with that. And what's popping up for me is I'm wanting to feel the flow between the lungs and the heart and the pericardium. The pericardium is the sac that holds the heart, right? It's the heart protector. And for some people, like everything has its own feeling to it. Just like each person has its own feeling, each organ has its own feeling. And so a lot of us are familiar with the feeling of the heart. But the feeling of the pericardium, just invite your energy to be aware of how the pericardium feels and just notice through feeling what comes up. Like for me, I get like, when it's imbalanced, it's like really protecting. I get a sense of, which I'm feeling right now. Like there's a tightness in between my shoulders and it starts to clear. Just bringing my awareness there. And if you start yawning a lot and moving a lot, that's a good sign that energy is moving. Yep. And sometimes I'll shake. Shaking really helps energy move. Good. And again, stepping in from the back into the body, because it feels like with a lot of people, myself included right now, there's like a tightness in between the lungs. There's a tightness with the pericardium. They're all kind of jumbled in the background. Not in the foreground, but I can feel it in the background. So I'm like stepping in and breathing with it. While, again, remember the Earth Star from last time, inviting our energy to be fully in our body and not pressuring this spot. Pressure can sometimes help, but a lot of times it's just not as helpful. So creating space and trusting that this flow is going to happen invites it to do that more easily and more quickly. So being aware of the Earth Star below our feet and the flow that's coming up through the legs, the magnetic energy that's pulling our body into that magnetic quality versus the polarity. And that's gently opening up the back of our heart and the pericardium and that flow of the lungs. Good. And as that's moving, how is that connection between the lungs and the large intestine? You might notice that as one thing opens, another thing closes. It's all part of it. Everything's just getting to unwind. And as one thing opens, another thing gets the opportunity to say, hey, what about me? Hey, I want to move too, right? I want to get into that flow. It's a never-ending process. But the more we are with all of it, with our whole body, the more easily it all syncs together. Because we're bringing a solid foundational vibration in and inviting it all to find that rhythm. Good. And you can even play with how does it feel between the right lung to the left and left to the right, right? How's that connection? How's the connection top to bottom of each lung? Yeah, the more detailed you get with your presence, with your organs, the more they feel your presence. It's like you're taking in a person and all the minute qualities of them, but not like picking them apart. You're just with it. You're just like, oh yeah, I feel that. I'm so enamored by that. I'm so in love with that. We're bringing love to the expression of our body, of our organs, to the cosmos, really, because we are the cosmos, right? Good. And as that starts to unwind more deeply, you might feel that spiral again through the cranial sacral fluid in the back. You might notice that your neck starts to unwind. You might notice the different flows between the left and right side of your body. Maybe, maybe not. Just notice it. Everything's starting to like get louder. Everything's starting to be like, oh, you're here. Let me express myself. You're listening. Oh, cool. You know, it might get really loud at first, right? Because some things have a lot of times been held back. And you open that door and the flood comes through. That's a part of it. The more and more the door is open, the less there's a flood. The more there's just an even flow, right? Good. Letting that unwind. Syncing the lungs and the large intestine with the heart of the earth. Feeling that pericardium starting to open. It's almost like if you can imagine walls around the heart. If you could feel them, inviting them to drop down like liquid and just dissolving into like bright light or into like a warm feeling in the body. Yeah, good. It's so good. Nice. Yeah. All right. So play with that. Play with those connections. It's the metal element, and we'll go more deeply into all of this. But like it's really about the feeling. So the more you can be in the feeling of something and just be curious. Like if you're having a reaction to something, or you're noticing like you're having a hard time breathing, just notice like, where are my organs at? Where are they connected? Are they being felt? Am I meeting them? Or am I up here looking at things? Am I up here like trying to figure out my reality versus feeling it? That will help bring you back, and always focus on that one breath if you can, because that creates the space for your energy to come in to meet that. Without space, we go like this and we grip and we try to control because we're trying to find the space so that we can breathe. Without breath, we freak out because that's our life, right? So just play with that and notice what comes up for you while staying again grounded to the heart of Mother Earth, feeling that magnetic energy supporting you, and being in love with the experience as much as possible versus looking at it and judging it and trying to figure it out. Okay, see you next time. Have a beautiful day.